When I was younger, it was a really bizarre thing when I think about it, because when I was 13, I used to blow dry my relatives' hair. At 13, very strange. Now when I think about it, but they'd call me up and they'd say, "Oh, Maria, do a blow dry for me," and I'm like, "Okay, all right then." So I get my mom's brushes, the brushes she used to use, and I'd go off and blow dry my aunt's hair. And then when I was in school, on the school holidays, my mom decided that I was not going to be staying at home for the whole summer. And then she got me a job in the salon that she used to go to, which was the best salon in the area where we lived. So then when I left school, I actually wanted to be a policewoman. That was the strange thing. I didn't really want to be going to do hairdressing, because when I would go and do the holiday work, it all seemed so difficult, even though I loved it. But then I was too young to go and do police, so I said, let me go into the hairdressing. And then after 1 year of doing that, when I was eligible to go for the police, I decided no, hairdressing was the way for me. So that was really, really good. Then I went to Dublin and I did a really quick course. So I was finished my training in like a year and a half, when actually it takes 4 years. So then I went to London and after that. That's how I started. Well, when I worked in the salon that I started and I was doing my training there, it was a bit different because I was kind of like the apprentice of the person who owned the salon. So he was showing me a lot of things that I was doing and how to do colour, but colour wasn't my big thing when I was there. It was more about cutting. And then when I went to London, I was very lucky to get in with a big salon, and they had a group of salons and they had an academy. And that's then when I got into the whole colouring thing. I said I'd really like to get more into colouring, and that's when then they put me on all the courses for colouring. And that's when I figured out colouring was the way. Well, you know, it was very strange because I'd been living in London. I was there altogether for 8 years, but I met a friend of mine 2 years before we left, and we'd gone all the way through school together, which was really quite strange. And I met her on a horse riding lesson, and she was at that time living in Dubai. So it was come visit me, come visit me. So we came out. Then after 2 years, we decided to move. So that's when the big change came. Obviously, all this many years later, it's completely different now. At that time, there was a lot less salons, a lot less professional salons, and my forte was for colour. So I could shine a little bit because at that time there wasn't that many people here who specialised in hair colouring. When I set up in Dubai first, one of the main challenges actually was staff, finding the right staff. And what I decided to do was that I decided to wait until I found exactly the staff that I wanted to have with me. So even though my salon is a big salon, I decided to start with myself and one other hairdresser and a receptionist and an assistant until I found the people that I really wanted to work with me. That to me was more important, that the work that was going out was of my standard and the quality that I wanted, rather than having quantity of people. And for the size of the salon, I needed people, but I decided at least I knew this way that everything going out was of my standard. And I was building my name, so I needed that. I've been managing a salon for a lovely two Kuwaiti men for 6 years, and I was getting to that stage where I knew I had so much more to give, and I felt like I was being stopped from like moving forward and the decisions that I wanted to make and the direction in which I wanted the salon. And it was a hair and beauty salon, and it was so important for me more to come out as a colourist and to show the whole colouring thing. So I think it was the freedom of what I wanted to do was what made me take that leap. And it was, you know, obviously I had my dream, they had their dream, and I gave them their dream, but then I wanted my dream. I felt like I could give a lot more. And you know, it was funny because when I opened up my salon the first time, the time when I opened it, this is just a simple thing, but it proved to me so much more. You know, we had a big glass door in the salon where I am, and I decided that I wanted a big wooden door. I wanted a statement door, and it's got swirls on it, and to me it was a very classic thing, and it's all covered like the outside is of marble. And at that time, of course, you're starting a business, and it meant that, you know, spending out a lot more money. But to me, this was so important, and I just loved the fact that I could make this decision on something that I was going to do, and I didn't have to get anyone else's approval. It was like, and that to me then was, this is your business now, Maria. You can make the decisions. It was funny at that time as well, because obviously starting a business, you know, I think about it now, and you know, you start with a lot less staff and you build it up, and you know, in the night times, I was the cleaner. It's like everyone's gone home, and then suddenly you've got the sweeping brush out and you're mopping the floor. And now we have a team of people, so it's great. And, you know, after all these years, I've now come to the stage where I can do other things. I can look at other projects because I've got a team of people who I've trained up around me, who I trust around me, who've been around me for quite a long time. So now I feel like after all these years, I can relax. I met a client the other day, and she was talking about how she's just started up her business, and she was talking about going away in the summertime, and she said, when do you start feeling like you can really relax? And I said, about 14 years later. You know, it's so important that you get the right team together. I think when someone's managing a place and you take over a salon and you're managing, that's the easy thing. It's when you start a salon from scratch, that's when it shows whether or not you're a good manager. Because if you can build a team and still have a successful salon and be successful after, 15 years we've still been here, and I'm still at the top of the game. So that's when you say it's a good manager or a good salon owner. But when I'm picking people, one of my simple things is that someone smiles. Because if they don't smile in an interview naturally, you're probably going to get someone that's quite grumpy. So it's like not a good thing. So I always look at someone who smiles. Obviously, we have to look at their credentials. But for me, I kind of feel like if the personality, when I'm building a team now, we look at personality, who's going to go with the other members of staff. I think that no matter what their work capability is, I can work on that. I can retrain, I can bring them to my way. And normally when people do come to me, they have to be retrained in my methods anyway. The way that we color, the way that our clients expect their color to look when they come to me. And even when I have people coming from London, it's a different way of coloring. So we retrain a bit in that way anyway. But the most important thing is personality. If you're building a team together, they have to get on. And what I say to people here, it's like we're a family. So you're going to spend 8-9 hours a day here. So you have to, this is your life. So you have to be happy in your work, and you have to be happy with the team that you live with, or that you work with, because you are living with them. And what's important to me is that they all get on, and that there's a family. But we're all, it's easy for us to talk to each other. That's also so important, that they feel like they can come to me easy. I'm like the mother of everybody. The most challenging and heartbreaking of things is that when you get the person you had working for you come and resign. And you know, we've all had that in salons, everyone gets it. And that is probably one of the most challenging times. You know, you go home and you think, wow, what's going to happen now? You think your whole world is going to fall apart. And you think, you know, how am I ever going to get through this? And you know, you've got clients and you've got everybody's wondering, like, and then there's the uncertainty of everything. But the great thing about it is what I love about my job is that I know I can do any of their jobs. So even though there may be an abundance of clients at that moment looking for a hairdresser, I know I can do the job because I am just, the whole thing in my salon is just colouring. So you know what, it's a funny thing, I can be down for the night and then I'll wake up the next day and I'm like, right, this is the situation, what am I going to do about it? So my personality is very much, okay, analyse what the problem is, and then you think, right, don't dwell on that, what am I going to do now to make this better? How am I going to make this better? And then I get on with it. So that was probably one of the most challenging things when you think, wow, what's going to happen now? I was forced into the position of doing this because when we opened up the salon 15 years ago, there was no tools. My problem was I couldn't get good hairbrushes, I couldn't get the irons that I wanted. It was different things. So my first thing was my hairbrushes. So I found it so difficult in this area to get brushes. And if the distributors did get brushes in, they got in maybe 20. Whereas my clients, they wanted whatever we were using. People wanted things, they couldn't get things at that time. So the brushes was the first thing that prompted me to starting my own brand. So we were very lucky. We found these fabulous manufacturers, and I gave them 3 brushes, and I was like, one of them was for weight, and one of them was for the handle, and one of them was for the bristles. So from the 3 brushes, they came back with the brushes that I wanted. So that was really good. Actually, they were even a bit lighter than the brushes that I wanted, so that was really, really good. So this was the start of me developing, and when I started first, I started with 2 brushes, and then I went into 7 brushes, so I expanded the range. So with the brushes, and we saw how good that was, and then I'd been using like straightening irons, and really the straightening irons I was using, they didn't have all the functions that I, as a person working in the salon every day, wanted from a set of irons. So this was my next challenge. I wanted a pair of irons that, as a colorist and as a hairstylist, I knew what I wanted. So I managed then to develop a set of irons, which I had. So that was really, really good. And from that came a styling wand, and then I got more into it, and there was like different things along the way. How we got into the Pampuri side of things was, it was kind of like natural progression. My partner, Peter Dowling, he then came and started working alongside, and he then became more of the distribution on the Pampuri side, and it's just really developed from there and gotten bigger and bigger, Pampuri being the retail range, and so it got bigger and bigger from there. So that's how it all started. Now, with the distribution part, obviously we have this area, so now we're looking at expanding to different regions, different areas. And the most recent one now that we're working on now is Africa. So Africa is going to be a new area for us to visit. And Cape Town is definitely somewhere. I might have to go for some market research, I think, to Cape Town. So that's going to be the next thing as far as distribution. As far as products, you know, we're on the hunt now again to see where can we go from here, what's going to be the next thing. The whole thing about when you're going to do products is, I like to bring a product out that is a niche product, is something that everyone doesn't have. I always said, if I was going back again, that I would definitely try and get into the best salon, wherever you can get in, wherever you are, get into the best salon. And the minute you get a chance, you've got to take that chance, because it's so important to get in under the wing of someone who can be a mentor for you. You have to decide what area you want to get into. Like, hairdressing is so interesting, because whether you want to do salon work, or whether you want to do session work, or you want to be behind the camera, which side of the camera do you want to be on? There's many areas. I mean, the most fabulous thing about hairdressing is, or the beauty industry as a whole, is that you can travel anywhere and do it. And it's one of those jobs that it's satisfaction on the day. So unlike other jobs where it takes time to see results, that everything now is social media. So if you're young, work social media. Get your little site together, get your Instagram page together, show people your work. Every time you do something, try and get in the habit of taking a photo, because you're building up a portfolio for yourself, trying to do before and after shots. This is what people like to see, so it's all about working. The younger people are more inclined to be more switched on when it comes to social media anyway. I do my own social media, so I quite enjoy it. So that would be my main bit of advice. Hi, my name is Prima Donna, and you're watching me on Beautypolis.